Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and tonight is our monthly Venus Circle. Our theme is Pisces. We are doing our release work at the solar plexus. Our archetype is the victim, and the trap that we are releasing is the injured instinct and consequence of capture. So we are going to the depths of the ocean, where I've already been for the last month. It's been a really deep process with this Olokun Rising event I was part of. So I'm just excited to circle up with you all and hope some other people are joining as we speak. Let everyone relax into your space, and we're going to do some breath work to anchor the circle and unify the energies. And just get present to here and now. 1 hour of setting the world aside so that you can tend to your own values and priorities is not too much to ask. We're going to move through the chakras with some breath work and just relax. And I think we'll start at the top and work our way down so that we are grounded and rooted here. So let's start at the crown chakra. This connects us to our soul star chakra, our higher self. Take a deep breath, making that connection above, below, and at the heart. Let's just get that general entree going. Deep breath in. And hold and release. And we're going to start at that crown, making that connection to your own knowledge, understanding, and consciousness. We're connecting to the element of thought. And here we want to picture a beautiful violet crystal, like an amethyst, above your head, infused with light from within, spinning counterclockwise to the left. And make that connection, like I said, above, below, and at the heart. Make that connection to your own crown, your own consciousness, as we release everything else so that we can be here now. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Spiral down into your third eye. This is, of course, associated with your clairvoyance, intuition, and imagination, as well as the element of light itself. Here I want you to picture an indigo crystal, which is like that midnight blue, infused with light from within, spinning clockwise to the right. And take a deep breath in, connecting to your own third eye, your own imagination. Deep breath in. And hold and release. And spiral down into your throat chakra. This is, of course, associated with your voice. Communication, creativity, vibrations, and mantras are really important for throat health. The throat is associated with the element of sound. Here I want you to picture a beautiful light blue crystal, like a celestite. It's a really pretty light blue crystal I have from Asheville that I always have with me for this. Pictured infused with light from within, right at your throat chakra, spinning counterclockwise to the left, making that connection to your authentic voice. Deep breath in. And hold and release. And come on into the heart chakra, which of course connects above and below. We always want this one open and spinning. It's associated with love and relationships, unity and healing, breath and balance, and of course the element of air. Here I want you to picture a beautiful emerald green crystal infused with light from within, right at their heart chakra, spinning clockwise to the right. Feel that expansion, breathing as if you're breathing through and from your heart. Connect to the most joyful experience you can conjure in a feeling mode right now. I always connect to that 2-year-old little baby frolicking on the beach. They're always so joyful. It just opens my heart immediately. And take a deep cleansing breath in. Deep breath in. And hold and release. Come on down into the solar plexus, which is the star of the show tonight. Definitely feel into this one. Connected with your personal power, will, and self-esteem, your autonomy and energy and metabolism. It's associated with the element of fire. So purification is definitely up for this month for all of us. Here I want you to picture a golden yellow citrine crystal infused with light from within, spinning counterclockwise to the left to make that connection to your own power center. Deep breath in. And hold and release. All right, come on down into your creative center, right around your belly button. This is associated with your emotions and sexuality, change and movement and pleasure and polarities. It's also associated with the element of water. Here's where we want a creative flow. Picturing a beautiful orange crystal infused with light from within, spinning clockwise to the right. Take a deep cleansing breath in at your creative center. Deep breath. And hold and release. Come on down to your root chakra, which connects you to your earth star and tethers you to this plane, this lifetime. It's associated with your roots and survival, of course, being grounded in the body, 3D matter, and new beginnings. It's also associated with the element of earth. So here I want you to picture a beautiful ruby red crystal infused with light from within, spinning counterclockwise to the left, making that connection again above, below, and at the height. And take a deep cleansing breath in. And hold and release. We can be here now. Thank you everyone for joining me tonight. We do have quite a bit to cover because Pisces is very deep. This is a culmination of sorts. Anytime any planet gets to the last sign of the zodiac, we know there is a certain amount of culmination going on. By the same token, here we are, kicking off the release side, going even deeper this month, where we are connecting to the Pisces part of our chart, which we know is going to activate automatically Virgo and Gemini Sag in ways that we want to be conscious of. So this month is going to activate that Pisces part of us in a very special way, asking us to process things through the emotions and spirit and do a check-in with all our personal connections. It's time when you may be feeling a tremendous weight of the past, recognizing how much of your life is really behind you. However, we are regenerative creatures, and so this ending vibe that you might be feeling is only the precursor to the new beginning that you will birth in 9 months. So deep breath. Overall, we're in this where I forgot to do the little review of last month's Aquarius at the sacral chakra release of the old vision or any resistance to change. We really outgrown a certain way of self-expressing, right? Of expressing ourselves. So this month we go into the Pisces solar plexus where we release old fears, phobias, and unhealed trauma. We're going to purify confusion and overwhelm, which is the shadow of Pisces, right? So that's why we can look at it as a certain amount of ending energy, but really it's an ending vibration in preparation for the new beginning. So we want to keep that in mind. This release work that we do month by month is really important. We're doing 9 months of it. It is clearing space, creating a vacuum, but we want to remember that something else is going to come right back in and take its place. So we want to be ready and conscious about what that is. It's definitely time to do a review of how well you have followed your own intuition over the last 9 months, let's say, to a year, or not, and how much you have cultivated a spiritual practice to support your life. When we consciously set the energies around us, only certain things can be magnetized. But when we forget to set that tone for ourselves, then we're at the mercy of the energies and entities swirling around us. That's tricky. This month, trust that whatever you release is freeing up your energy, imagination, and your resources. Okay, deep breath. So that's the other reason not to be upset about endings or clearings or releases, because it's actually creating space for something better and more suitable for here and now. Our victim archetype asks us to check in with our boundaries and filters specifically. If you do not have healthy boundaries or clean filters, then you end up picking up all kinds of debris during the course of a regular day, while not always perceiving what is actually happening in the moment correctly. This archetype reveals where you've given away your power or given up on yourself. It's time to release shame, blame, and guilt over the past and any illusions or delusions that are no longer viable, but they've turned into a distraction, right, or a liability. Consider the issue of being fearful, oversensitive, and easily distracted. Often we are overwhelmed by the energies and entities around us. Redefine your boundaries as strong enough to protect you, but not so thick that you cannot perceive the reality or energies nearby. The shadow work of this archetype is to dig deeper for a sense of connection to your higher power, okay? Deep breath. So one of the little adages whenever Pisces is kicking is if you're going to worry, why pray? And if you're going to pray, why worry? So then we realize that worry becomes this neurotic thing that humans do. This month will reset the connection to your spiritual body and your solar plexus chakra, clearing and releasing any blockages to your ability to contribute in a bigger way. Look at where your battery is low or you feel a weakened connection to source. Consciously choose to stop leaking energy and resources. The release work you do this month is so that you can fortify the connection to your own natural center and foundation, which enables you to follow your own intuition when it comes to the right actions and right timing for you. Okay, that's why your intuition is so vital, so that you can trust in the outcomes, right? So then we surrender the attachment to the outcome, but we trust that whatever it is for our highest good. When we've done the work, when we have tilled the soil, when we have set the structure or the foundation consciously. There is a great deal of clearing work to be done at our power center because often we carry childhood wounds there, which unconsciously continue to block or limit our power to grow, evolve, and function in life. Clearing this chakra always leads to more self-mastery and true and lasting self-confidence, which is really important. So let's look at the solar plexus is to look at, like I said, where your battery is low or where you feel a weakened connection, thinking about your personal power and the transformation, all the different things that are up for this chakra and how it functions, how it works. The other thing I like to remind people about the chakras specifically is I think there is some value in making the connections between the above and below. So I always look at how the root and the crown are connected, the creative center and the third eye is connected, but our power center is connected to our throat. So we really want to tap in and see what we're doing with our voice and how we're using our creative self-expression and what has run its course, let's say over the last 18 months to 8 years, if we're going to use the Venus cycle. What can you see right now that needs to be healed or integrated so that you can make new choices and channel your power better, basically, on your own behalf, right? That's really important when we're working with our power center like this. So we are going to cover, a lot of the release work that we have to do this month, like I said, is setting us up for reclamation at the throat, which is going to happen, get this, on 2/22/2023. Now, I know this crew, most of us were actively engaged in 2/22/22. Always think about when you do those alignments and you tap into your prayer work and your intention work, a year later makes a difference. You can really see what you actually tapped into. And now here we are looking at a place where if we can clear these things I'm about to cover now, it opens us up for throat chakra, our new voice, in Aries, which is a new purpose and a new identity. It engages the seeker archetype, which is completely different. That's about being totally curious and all that. And then our task will be about facing the wild hag. That's going to be very powerful, about owning our truth, again, with that voice and authenticity and your personal individual self-expression. In order for you to do that in a clean, positive way, the release work has to happen here and now this month. So we're releasing definitely the childhood traumas and triggers and any disconnect from your intuition. Sometimes I think food and pharmaceuticals dull down our senses and our intuition and our capacity to sort of know things, within ourselves, our own inner wisdom. It kind of dulls those senses so that we can't get to that. So that's the other kind of value of having a clean system. And, of course, Pisces always does bring up some of the addiction stuff, so we want to keep an eye out for those kind of escapist tendencies, which are okay under a controlled system. Like I would say, those of you who have to do worldly news, I always say if you have to watch 1 hour of news, you better counterbalance it with 2 to 4 hours of comedy and music and something uplifting, because that drains your energy, and it can make you feel like a victim. It's deep. And that's part of what's getting out of here, that victim consciousness or any need for others to do your work or your soul work, whether it's literal or soul level work. We're releasing the old dream, the old belief system, and the old way of creating. Again, when you engage that imagination, what happens? We want to clean that out, clear that up, maybe revisit some ideas, see if they have any juice left in them. But for now, personally, we need to release all excuses, negativity, negligence, loss of vitality, and introversion, which usually equals exile, self-imposed exile. It's real easy to do in this crazy world today because our systems are so overwrought right now. But at the same time, you block your blessing when you hide like that, so it's not good. Addictions, distractions, the lack of self-control, this is part of the clearing we have to do in our power center. We want to get our self-control back, our own personal will to be clean and in alignment. And, of course, we need to clear any overwhelm or stagnation in the system, the toxins and poisons that gather over time. We do an annual cleanse here in this household, and that's even been up to semi-annual, and maybe it'll get up again to quarterly just because. So you can put yourself on a schedule of cleansing where you do it once a week or once a month or once a year or whatever it is that you at least pay a little bit of attention to what you have accumulated or where you might be stuck or kind of building up energy that needs a release. That's really important to do. Your tools this month, of course, are your activations, are your personal counsel, whereas the chart is the sky count. So one of the reasons this particular Venus-Moon contact is so vitally important, and I was so excited to get together with you all to go through some of these details, is because there are some extra players there that are not always there. So we have our regular Venus-Moon contact in Pisces, which pretty much it happens as part of the cycle, but we get a moon in Pisces every month. The moon moves through all 12 signs in a month the way the sun moves through all 12 signs in a year. So we get access to this energy every so often. But right now, we've got Juno, who's only there every 5 years, really close to Mars, who's only there every 2 years. So that's the partnership energy and entity, along with Mars, our sacred masculine, who we are and what we want, how we get anything done, how we negotiate on our own behalf, hold our boundaries, and get our ideas in the world. All of that is up for a renewal or, let's say, an infusion of your imagination. We want to imagine new partnerships that honor your sovereignty. That Mars part of you is all about you, but Juno is all about the partnership. So somehow we're dreaming up a new way to do that, along with Venus and Moon being together right next to Neptune and Jupiter. Now, Neptune's only there every 165 years, and Jupiter's only there every 12. So like I said, these bigger cycles converging right here at our solar plexus is so deep. It's so powerful. In the chart, which would be our sky council. So when I say your personal council, that's when you want to look at your activations and you want to see who is Venus touching in your chart. Let's say if she's touching Neptune for you, that means Venus and Neptune are part of your personal council, and you need to talk to them about what's going on this month. But up in the sky, we all have access to this chart, and that has Capricorn ruling it, which means Saturn's ruling it, which means, again, if we can work with our imagination to come up with these creative solutions or new dreams and new structures and new ways of getting things done, and then, again, choosing new roles and responsibilities and letting go of old ones that have run their course. This has Pluto in the first house, transforming us as individuals. That's superpower for anything that you're ready to release and clear and let go of. That's huge. The Saturn-Vesta combo, Saturn's still in Aquarius. It's the 24 degrees. It only goes to 30, so it's, a little past two-thirds of the way through. But it's linking up with Vesta, what is sacred to us, the individual, so we're back to that sovereignty and independence and freedom and autonomy and the ability to be ourselves and contribute our unique contribution without any shame, blame, or guilt, right? To really be good about that. Now, Saturn's only there every 30 years, and Vesta's only there every 5, so that's another special alignment happening in the second house, which is our values and priorities. So, again, with this thinking future rather than past is a really important thing to do right now. You might have heard me say, go to yourself, 10 years older than you are now, and ask her what she would like you to do now that would make life a little easier then. And remember that our guides and our higher self does have a sense of humor. So when I ask that question, sometimes I get some very funny answers, but also truly authentic and relevant for now. So I'm trying to pay attention. But our values are shifting, and how we do things for ourselves and how we want to be part of a community is evolving. And again, whatever we can put in place over this year or two that Saturn's there can support us for the next 7 to 30 years. So that's pretty big. The Mars-Juno combo is also falling in the second house of values and priorities. So we're still back to that, the value of having partnerships and collaborations, or let's say support from the community and people other than just you doing it yourself. So we want to have our autonomy. We want to have our independent contribution. We want to be able to do our creative self-expression in a beautiful new way these days. But then think about the people you can collaborate with. Think of who you can play with and work with, and bring those talents and bring those cultivations of artistic expression or political activism or whatever it is that you're up to that you care about these days. Integrating that in a creative way and then sharing it with the world is important. But by the same token, you have to follow your own intuition for what's right for you and how much your system can actually handle. So we're also working into that equation, how things work for you in real time and how it goes when you need to share time, energy, resources, space with other people. There's a recalibration going on there as well. Now, the Venus, Moon, Neptune, Jupiter big party is falling in our third house. So this has to do with our cousins, siblings, other relations that aren't intimate or that close, but people in your near environment. So there's this renewal going on there and an ending new beginning of who you associate with in this kind of close way. But at the same token, we are completing a whole vision, a whole story, a whole belief system around who you are and how you express, how you think, and how you feel, how the feelings that prompt your choices and actions. There's a cleansing and a renewal going on there as well. And it's in preparation for more sovereignty and independence. So you want to dream up the aspects that you need to help your individual self function, but you also want to dream up the support system that you would like to have from other people. And in that same zone of how you think and communicate and express yourself on these higher levels, we've got a Chiron Palace alignment right now in Aries. So anyone with strong Aries, Libra, and Cancer, Capricorn is already feeling Chiron there, which is digging up a lot of healing around us as individuals, healing our right to be here, healing our sense of purpose and identity, not allowing others to take that away from us. But right now, the idea is to tap into your healing capacity. How are you healing yourself? How are you making yourself whole again? How are you integrating aspects of your being that may have felt fragmented or kind of all over the place that we want to dial in so that we can lean on them, so they can be bricks in our foundation and help us stay strong, right? That strong independence and courage of your convictions is the Aries department. Here's where I give you permission to make it all about you. But in this context, it's all about healing you. It's all about the healing process. And in this case, it's third house, so healing the mind, healing the consciousness, healing what you believe to be true or possible is also truly supported and preparing us for next month's Aries activation. This is preparatory. Then all the Taurus energy is pretty much falling in the fourth house except for Mercury, who wants to get creative and is doing its retrograde anyway, so it's going to be in its own process separate from the rest. But the Sun, as of April 27th, is in Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus, and the North Node is in Taurus, all in the fourth house. So this tells me that, again, we have to do something radically different in our day-to-day routines, and we need to do something radically different around our quality nutrient and what we're taking into our system, how we are replenishing and building our base, and how does that serve and protect us at this time. And the biggest question of all is, how beautiful is it? Where's the beauty? Where's the substance? Where is the longevity and the practicality? Okay, we're dialing all that in, again, for you, the individual, for your systems, for your body, for your mind and spirit. And then remember, because it's Taurus, across from Scorpio, we have the Taurus-Scorpio eclipse on the 30th. That's only 3 days after our Moon-Venus contact on the 27th. We have that Taurus new moon solar eclipse. So just think, if you can integrate the energies this month and do some of this release work around the victim consciousness and composting the old dream that has run its course or, never happened or has already happened and is done and you need a new dream. Whatever it is, we are cultivating something that we want to be both nourishing and beautiful. Again, with that ability to serve and protect ourselves in a certain way, but in a new way, an upgrade. Thinking about the years of 2012 to 14, the last time we had Taurus Scorpio eclipses, how was it going for you then? What were you building and acquiring and bringing on, because that's Taurus? And what were you letting go of with Scorpio? What was being purified and distilled back to its essence? And what are those themes are back again right now, that we have this extra potency because of Uranus being there only once in 84 years. The sun is there once a year. Mercury's there about once a year or so. But lingering to retrograde is a whole different ballgame. So this chart for our April 27th is all concentrated in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th house. So that means our values, how we think, how we take care of ourselves, and how we express ourselves is where all the energy and activations are. So we want to think progressive, again, go to your future self, then go into your feeling nature, into your intuition, into your essence, into your connection to your higher self and God, and ask what is complete and what is beginning at this time so that you can be as clear as possible, and where can your imagination support you in expanding the vision so that you can embody this higher level of consciousness, this new level of beauty and integration that you've been able to do for yourself, all of it. It's so juicy. Sirius is finishing up in Gemini, which is nourishing our mind and our ideas and our creative ideas. But the idea now is, how do you work it into the routine? We all have these new ideas and creative projects that have been bubbling for a while. How are they going to work into the rhythm and routine? And that's the other thing that's deep about this chart. Everything is below the horizon, which also makes it super personal. So deep breath. Just know that the work you do on yourself this month and next are setting you up for the responses from other people, from the rest of the world, to come in and touch base with you. So as you're looking at, what's being affected for you, recognizing this strong stellium in Pisces, that's 6 entities: Moon, Venus, Juno, Mars, and Jupiter, Neptune. Nothing in Virgo, nothing in Sag. We have Sirius and Gemini. So what that tells me is we need to bring in Virgo, the practicality, the does it work, is it relevant, is it useful filters. We need to do that consciously. And the Sag, expand the vision, tell a story, check in with what you're believing. And if we can do that, then this really strong Pisces energy can actually set us up for the new dream and the new vision to unfold organically. I love that. So when you're thinking about these things that are up for you, this is the place where I wanted to put the keywords in. Think about the Pisces keywords are secrets, limitations, restrictions, fantasy, dreams, vision, imagination, creative visualization, mysticism, psychic ability, surrender and trust, let go and let God, dissolving boundaries, tolerance, compassion, bliss, ecstasy, universal love, sensitivity to our surrounding energies, meditation, and understanding. Okay, so think Pisces, again, with that mysticism and your psychic ability, all part of what is getting a clearing and a strengthening and a fortification this month. It's all falling in your house. Now, the house is unique to each of us as an individual. And then your victim keywords are the lack of boundaries, weak or insufficient masculine, irrational fears, illusions and delusions, unfounded doubts, ungrounded, scatteredness, overwhelm, comparison. We never want to compare ourselves to other people. Your journey is unique to you, and so is everyone else's. Laziness, shame, blame, and guilt, passive aggressiveness, inability to go with the flow, and lack of power and centeredness. So this is our victim keywords. This is part of the archetype that we're clearing. And just think how much that victim archetype is all around in Western culture. It's so deep. You really have to fight it. People really want to make you a victim, and that's not how we should roll. Maintaining that sovereignty is so important. The other thing I want you to think about with these keywords, like I said, is run them through the filter of the house that is being activated for you personally. So you might do that victim thing in that house at certain times and under certain circumstances. So let's consciously release and clear that. Same thing goes for our trap keywords, because from here we're going to go into the actual trap. These keywords are the price for naivete, okay? I paid a very dear price for that in my youth. Depression, over-domestication, because this is about the consequence of capture and our injured instincts. Everything is a trade-off. We need to remember that. Lack of individuation. Okay, some of us don't get that because we're imposed upon by the culture or the family or the society to be a certain way, so we don't get to individuate properly or completely. Weakness, irrational fears, stress, soul famine, creative blockages, phobias, anxiety, laziness, and disconnect from spirit or soul self. That is all the traps that we need to clear this month in order to remain sovereign and prepare for this vision to unfold in its highest possible form. So our trap number 4, this is from Women Who Run with the Wolves. This is where we're going real deep, y'all. So sit back, relax, open to receive. In our extras here, which would be our trap, our divinations, the tarot, and all that extra support, there's always a unique and special message just for you, the individual. And every individual gets something out of this on this call. So I want you to just open to receive. Don't judge any of it, and just see how it lands and where it has meaning and value for you. Where this has happened to you, where you've witnessed it in other women, or just ways that you can be more conscious of how we do get our instincts injured in our youth when we're young and things happen, or we give up and we allow ourselves to be captured in certain ways, and then we have to follow someone else's reality, somebody else's structure, somebody else's rules and things. So deep breath. Whew. Instinct is a difficult thing to define, for its configurations are invisible. And though we sense they have been part of human nature since the beginning of time, no one knows quite where they might be housed neurologically, or precisely how they act upon us. This is our instincts. Psychologically, Jung speculated that the instincts derived from the psychoid unconscious, that layer of the psyche where biology and spirit might touch. Deep breath. I am of a considered sane mind and would go further to venture that the creative instinct in particular is as much the lyrical language of the self as is the symbology of dreams. Etymologically, the word instinct derives from the Latin meaning impulse and instigation, to incite or impel via an innate prompting. The idea of instinct can be valued positively as an inner something that, when blended with forethought and consciousness, guides humans to integral behavior. A woman is born with all instincts intact. Deep breath. Although we could say that the child in the tale has been swept into a new environment, one in which her roughness is smoothed down and her difficult life is removed, in reality, her individuation ceases. Okay, deep breath. This is what happens in Pisces when we become all one, or we merge with others, or we feel everything that other people are going through. We need to have our sovereign individual selves. Her striving to develop stops, and when the old woman, a stultifying presence, sees the works of the creative spirit as refuse rather than riches, and burns the handmade red shoes, the child becomes even more silent. Deep breath. She becomes sad, which is the expected state when creative spirit is locked away from natural soul life. Worse, the child's instinct to properly flee this plight is dulled down to nothing. Instead of aiming toward new life, she sits down in a psychic pool of glue. Lack of fleeing, when it is absolutely warranted, causes depression. Okay, deep breath. This is where my 5 planets in Aries saved my butt, and why I always tell you all self-preservation is not selfish. When your instincts say go, go. I've even had women in their 70s and 80s get divorced and say it's never too late to have your own life and your own individuality. Another trap happens, when we don't leave when we should. We stay over long. Call the soul what you like. One's marriage to the wild, one's hope for the future, one's blooming energy, one's creative passion. My way, what I do, the beloved, the wild groom, the feather on the breath of God. Whatever words or images you may have for this process in your life, it is that which has become captured. That is why the creative spirit of the psyche becomes so bereft. Through wildlife studies of various species of captive animals, it was found that no matter how lovingly their zoo plazas are constructed, no matter how much their human keepers love them, as indeed they do, the creatures often become unable to breed. Their appetites for food and rest become skewed. Their vital behaviors dwindle to lethargy, sullenness, or untoward aggressiveness. Deep breath. Zoologists call this behavior in captive animal depression. Anytime a creature is caged, its natural cycles of sleep, mate selection, estrus, grooming, parenting, and so forth deteriorate. As the natural cycles are lost, emptiness follows. The emptiness is not full like the Buddhist concept of the sacred void, but rather empty like being inside a sealed box with no windows. Deep breath. Nobody likes that. So too, when a woman enters the household of the dry old woman, she also experiences lack of resolve, miasma, ennui, simple depressions, and sudden anxiety states that are similar to the symptoms that animals display when they have been stunned by capture and trauma. Too much domestication breeds out strong and basic impulses to play, relate, cope, rove, commune, and so forth. When a woman agrees to be too, quote-unquote, well-bred, her instincts for these impulses drop down into her darkest unconscious, outside her automatic reach. Okay, that's what we're going to cultivate back, to following our intuition and instincts. She is said then to be instinct injured. What should come naturally comes not at all, or after too much tugging, pulling, rationalizing, and fighting with herself. Deep breath. When I speak of over-domestication as capture, I do not refer to socialization, the process whereby children are taught to behave in more or less civilized ways. Social development is critical and important. Without it, a woman cannot make her way in the world. But too much domestication is like forbidding the vital essence to dance. In its proper and healthy state, the wild self is not docile or vacuous. Deep breath. It is alert and responsive to any given moment or any given movement. It is not locked into an absolute and repetitive pattern for any and all circumstances. It has creative choice. The instinct-injured woman has no choice. She just stays stuck. Deep breath. There are many ways to be stuck. The instinct-injured woman usually gives herself away because she has a difficult time asking for help or recognizing her own needs. Her natural instincts to fight or flee are drastically slowed or extincted altogether. Recognition of the sensation of satiation, off-taste, suspicion, caution, and the drive to love fully and freely are inhibited, or opposite, they're exaggerated, right? Deep breath. These extremes of feast or famine, deep breath. We're tapping in, we're doing our clearing where it's needed. As in the tale, one of the most insidious attacks on the wild self is to be directed to perform properly, implying a reward will follow, if ever. Though this method may, and I emphasize may, temporarily persuade a 2-year-old to clean her room, no playing with toys until the bed is made, it will never, never work in a vital woman's life. While consistency, follow-through, and organization are all essential to implementing creative life, the old woman's injunction to be proper, quote-unquote, kills off any opportunity to expand. Deep breath. It is play, not properness, that is the central artery, the core, the brainstem of creative life. The impulse to play is an instinct. No play, no creative life. Be good, no creative life. Sit still, no creative life. speak, think, act only demurely, very little creative juice. Any group, society, institution, or organization that encourages women to revile the eccentric, to be suspicious of the new and unusual, to avoid the fervent, the vital, the innovative, to impersonalize the personal, is asking for a culture of dead women. Deep breath. That is not us. Janis Joplin, a blues singer during the 60s, is a good example of a feral woman who was instinct injured by spirit-crushing forces. Her creative life, innocent curiosity, love of life, somewhat irreverent approach to the world during her growing up years were mercilessly vilified by her teachers and many of those who surrounded her in the quote-unquote good girl white Southern Baptist community of her time. Deep breath. Though she was an A student and talented painter, she was ostracized by other girls for not wearing makeup and by neighbors for liking to climb a rock outcropping outside of town to sing up there with her friends and for listening to jazz. When she finally escaped to the world of the blues, she was so starved she could no longer tell when enough was enough. She had shaky boundaries. This is no limits around sex, liquor, or drugs. There is something about Bessie Smith, Anne Sexton, Edith Piaf, Marilyn Monroe, and Judy Garland that follows the same instinct-injured pattern of soul famine, attempting to quote-unquote fit, becoming intemperate, not being able to stop. We could make a very long list of instinct-injured, talented women who in their vulnerable states made very poor choices, like the child in the tale. They all lost their handmade red shoes somewhere along the way and found their way to the poisoned red shoes. They all were filled with sorrow, for they hungered for spirit food, soul story, natural roving, self-decoration in keeping with their own needs, God learning, and a simple and sane sexuality. But they unwittingly chose the cursed shoes, which is beliefs, actions, ideas that cause life to deteriorate more and more. That's anything poison to your system, right? That's toxic to your system. That turned them into madly dancing specters. Injury to instinct cannot be underestimated as the root of an issue when women are acting mad, when they're possessed by obsession, or when they are stuck in less malignant but nevertheless destructive patterns. The repair of injured instinct begins with acknowledging that a capture has even taken place, that a soul famine has followed, and that usual boundaries of insight and protection have been disturbed. Deep breath. The process that caused a woman's capture and the ensuing famine has to be reversed. But first, many women go through the next few stages as described in the story before they get to that. So this month, we just want to look at the place where we've been a victim for real, where we've possibly victimized others, or where we played the victim to enlist sympathy and things like that. So again, our culture, our families, our communities teach us certain things. I just did this in my class with Kathy Pagano. She was teaching her book, Wisdom's Daughters, How Women Can Change the World. And one of the questions she asked us to meditate on was, what were the messages of your mother, of society, of the people around you? And my husband would laugh that I'm always the odd man out. I'm always different from the mainstream, whatever it is. And we had a class of maybe 10 people. 9 of them got messages from their mothers that said, never trust women. And my message from my mother was to never trust men. So either way, the messages were wrong, right? Either way, we needed to all grow into our own womanhood, our own interactions with males and females to determine how that should be. And this is where we get back to our instincts and intuition around what's best for us as an individual. So this is a good month for clearing all that. And if it's not you, like I do have an instance, my mother was victimized in many ways, and my grandmother was too. I have not so been physically violated like they were, but I understand it now, and so I have compassion for it, and I have a place in my system where I recognized as I was growing up in my teenage and early 20s where I took on some of their victimhood just because that was indoctrinated, that was what I saw. So we have to break free from that. Usually we do in our 20s, where we realize we're different from our mothers and we want to do it differently than our mothers did it, and you go your own way to learn your own lessons. But this is the month where we clear that, whether it's our own or generational or with the maternal line or paternal line, either way. Let that go and use the energies to support it. Again, when there's 6 planets like there are, with those many different cycles, 2 years, 5 years, 12 years, 165 years, these big cycles converging in Pisces means that we are at an initiation for a whole new level to do this, And so even though we know endings come with Pisces being the end of the zodiac, it's still an initiation when any 2 planets get together like that in conjunct. So this is a new cycle of partnership that, like I said early on, honors our sovereignty and independence. It's a new beginning of our connection to our spirituality and our consciousness that is a direct connect, no middleman, no translator, right? We don't need a priest to tell us what God is saying. So deep breath as we develop that in that belief system and that story that we want to tell for ourselves, the narrative we want to live into, is again preparing us for next month when Aries comes and asks us to activate and embody it on some level in some kind of way, even if it's a small way, right? So our support from the other cultures, I always love this one. This is from the deck, the Ancestor Spirit Oracle cards. I chose this deck to guide us throughout our entire process because every single card is from a different culture. This month's culture is the Ainu of Northern Japan, and it's called Remembering Who You Are. The keywords are culture, resilience, and beliefs. The Ainu of Northern Japan were animists who handed down their cultural knowledge through rituals, storytelling, and songs. Traditionally, Ainu women had their arms and lips tattooed when they were old enough to be married. The lip tattoos were also for keeping away evil spirits and enabled the bearer to reunite with her loved ones in the afterlife. Over time, the Ainu were oppressed, marginalized, and prohibited from practicing their traditions. They were forced to assimilate with Japanese customs and banned from being tattooed. As this meant they couldn't get married or join their deceased ancestors, many Ainu women went into hiding and continued to follow their own traditions. These days, Ainu women don't have tattoos on their lips, and few continue their 1,000-year-old traditions. The Ainu were formally recognized as a distinct indigenous group by the Japanese government in 2008. Recently, there has been a call for the renewal of Ainu culture. The ancestors speak. You are more resilient than you know. You have been through so much in your life, yet you are still here, a strong survivor. Remember who you are and what you wanted when you were younger. Remember who you were before people told you who you should be. It's time to evoke your original self. It is not too late to reconnect with your truth. Deep breath. Okay, one of my things about being a survivor and the whole survivor archetype, again, you may have heard me say this before, but it bears repeating, is that when we own that, and I did that for a long time in my 20s, is I'm a survivor, I can do things myself, I don't need any help, I don't want any help, and I basically blocked my blessings in a way that wasn't necessary over long. So there is this aspect of strength and good boundaries that comes with being a survivor. But when you stay in that archetype over long or you identify too strongly, too long with that one, then guess what? The universe starts giving you more shit to survive, and nobody needs that. So you can claim that you have been a survivor, but try not to live there because otherwise it just starts living up to its expectations. The divine meaning says, remember who you are and how wonderful you are. You have forgotten the many gifts and great potential that you have. Take a moment now to slow down and remember what you originally wanted out of life. Recall who and where you wanted to be. There is still so much time left for you. Do not give up. Reconnect with everything that creates joy in your life and makes your heart sing. Okay, so what just jumped to mind, and this was really deep because as a child and an early teenager, I don't even remember, talking about having a beach house. And I always wanted to live at the beach. Every summer, my birthday's in July. My grandmother had a condo in Ocean City, Maryland. We would go every year for my birthday in July, and her birthday, she was a Scorpio, in November. And it was my happy place. And then I ended up living in Florida for 14 years. And so I remember one of my aunts pointing out how I had talked about it, and I actually was one of the few people to ever go do it. That not everybody gets to live at the beach, and I got to do that for 14 straight years, which I did. I went to the beach almost every day for those 14 years, too. So there are ways that we can connect to our nature and what's important for our healing processes and ways that we should listen, because I mean, as also early 20s, I had a report done for my astrocartography that said my most powerful place was Taos, New Mexico, and my husband's most powerful place was Chicago, and that us together was South Florida. And I remember laughing in the guy's place going, I will never live in Florida. And here we go, 14 whole years, the longest place I lived anywhere in my whole entire life. I had no idea that was my future or how healing it would be and how much integration I got to do there that would have never been possible in D.C., New York, or Chicago, in the cities that I lived growing up. So deep breath, here it is, for following your intuition, for owning and honoring your individuality and not being pushed into the masses or the mass consciousness and the mass ways of expressing. So our tarot support is interesting because I'm still following along with a certain system that gave us the 5 of Earth as our guidance, and for us to think about Mercury in Taurus, which is kind of deep because that is where it's going to retrograde. It's going to go through Taurus, go through Gemini, retrograde in Gemini, and then go direct in Taurus. So that whole dynamic is up for renewal. And so any insecurity that we're feeling, okay, y'all, I shuffled at least 6 times. And I asked what was the antidote or what did we need for security, how to address that, right? What did we need to know? And I pulled the 4 of Earth, which was security, and it has to do with Sun and Capricorn. So any way that you are reviewing your creative ideas, your creative self-expression, any way that you're reviewing your diet or, your nutrient, how you do your nutrition, if you're reviewing your sex life or your financial life, all of that is up. If these are areas of life where you're feeling insecure, just know that that is getting a reset. And part of the antidote would be for us to turn to a Sun and Capricorn kind of energy, which is to choose your role and responsibility, to take the leadership position, but to also, again, do what's practical and what makes you feel safe and secure. So it is kind of relative here. So we're all going to feel insecure in different ways in different areas of life. It is in our Pisces department that we're looking at this month. So we want to check there first anyway. Our key words are insecurity, fear of loss, worries, negative thoughts, self-abuse, self-condemnation, fear of inadequacy, self-pity. Okay? The inner message says, once again, you have been pulled into an old negative mind loop. Okay? That's that monkey mind, boy. It always gets us in trouble and causes insecurity. To get out of it requires your full attention. Remember why you tend to think about yourself so harshly. Look closely. Where does this destructive influence come from, and who needs it? Find out. Become aware of the influence negative thoughts have and how you allow yourself to be hypnotized by them. The outward manifestations say, in this state, it is better to stay on the sidelines. Do not try to accomplish big things, let alone making important changes in your environment. An insistent fear of failure could jeopardize what develops now. First, let the dark cloud of worry pass out of your mind and renew your consciousness, which is also up with Jupiter there. By becoming still and regularly relaxing your mind, you will soon find that everything looks a lot brighter and much more clear. Okay, so down-regulating your nervous system, really doing your breath work, getting better quality rest, which probably means turning off electronics 2 hours before bedtime. I'm working on the young people with that one. They just don't know how to do it. So our answer, security here, 4 of Earth, keywords, positions of power, misuse of power, influence through money, desire for lasting stability, striving for security and success, law and order. The inner message says, be aware of how much material security you really need in your life and what this security means to you. What is it that makes you inwardly feel safe? What is needed now to stabilize you emotionally? These are all good questions for our Pisces month. If you let yourself fall into your own depths, you realize that true security always comes from the inside. Deep breath. So true. The outward manifestation says now you can reveal your influence on certain matters and step out from behind the scenes. But don't forget that outer creations or power demonstrations merely grant an illusory sense of security. Accepting our absolute insecurity is the only way to remain safe. So learn to rest in apparent insecurity. Begin to recognize the unchanging power in every change, every new and different situation. In this welcoming acceptance, you find that security knows no change. Deep breath. So this makes me think of the whole Virgo-Pisces axis. When we learn how to follow our intuition, we connect to right timing for us. So I have counseled several people, starting with my son who lives with a Mars North Node conjunction. So I was like, you have to follow your instincts on the direction you take in your life. Now, we all have to do that. But there are also certain alignments in our chart that make it even more prudent for us to stick to our own intuition about what's right or not right for us as individuals. So deep breath. When your happy place in nature, your spirit guide, your animal guide, whoever it is that you work with the most, you want to call them in right now to hold space while you go into liminal space. Ask them to filter things. Ask your higher self to filter everything first so that only that which is for you comes through. Pisces being the depths of the ocean, we can go to our deepest soul self in this drum journey. We can invite our ancestors, angels, and animal spirit guides to come through with the symbol, the word, the message, the wisdom, the understanding, the medicine that we need to, what I keep hearing is make ourselves whole again. We're kind of fragmented and distracted and pulled in so many directions these days that it's vital for us to call back our energy sources and to be grounded within ourselves so that we can make the best choices for ourselves. Again, following those instincts and intuition means sometimes going against the grain of what other people think is best for you. But you and your higher self always know better. So let's go in. Okay, that is your callback. Give your offerings of gratitude. But I want to thank everyone for being here. I appreciate you. Have some fun with Pisces energy. Try to get super creative, activate your imagination, watch some movies or read some poetry or get a novel. Do something that engages your imagination and helps you kind of think outside the box for what does sovereignty mean to you and what new roles and responsibilities do you want to play in the upcoming contributions or collaborations that you're going to be invited to. You know, how can you prepare yourself so that you're not overwhelmed by the divergent energies, but you can still function and participate and contribute on some level. That's what we're really going for. And just use this month and the extra energies around all that Pisces to do as much completion and surrender and integration as you possibly can. So we will try to unmute again, see if that echo is still there. But I'd love to hear from you and hear about your journey if you'd like to share. Let me know.
Hey, Kelly, can you hear me?
I can.
It's Cinnamon. Hey, Sis.
Oh, my God. You made it live. Oh, my God. You made it live.
I made it live, and I was here for the whole thing.
Yay.
Journey was wonderful. I have Sophia, my Palomino, takes me to my journey entrance, which is always Hi'ilave, the waterfall on the big island of Hawaii. And I do my mermaid thing and swim through the lava tube down into the underworld and come out, and I also have a Black Panther guide there. And this was connected to last time we did Journey, because last time we did Journey, I was feeling very overwhelmed and said, like, it was a little bit like a dismemberment journey, and I just left parts of self there for rehab, so to speak. And when I came back this time to the same place, those little parts of self that were shown to me as little sparks, kind of like fireflies, came back into me this time. So a continuation of last journey to this one.
I love it.
Yeah, it was so cool. And also a vision of self where, because I did ask what do we need to make self whole. So I was shown making figure eights with the hips to integrate left and right side. Yeah, which makes sense. And it reminded me of I was also shown this very long and lean version of myself where, bear with me here, I'm such a anatomy and physiology nerd. The psoas muscle was so lengthened within the cavity of my body that it really lengthened out into the thigh, into the leg, and brought my whole being into a much taller, longer version of self. And the hip pelvis area acted like the joint of a tuning fork, and that was my instinctual self. So my arms, head, upper body was like the two tines of the tuning fork. And all of that came down into the pelvis itself, where the instinctual knowledge came together into something I could understand. But that until the left and right sides were integrated and the pelvis itself lengthened, everything made long and lean, that's what I need to focus on so I can bring my instinctual self back online, essentially. So that was my journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, I'm going to let you go because this is much love and gratitude, everyone. Reach out directly.